But on Thursday afternoon, we received a message from the Israeli government that Keren, Ruti, and Ohad are on the list. And we were still skeptical until we saw the videos that everyone saw of the Red Cross ambulances going in Egypt. And then suddenly we see Ohad's cap and we recognize Ruti. And then we see them going down off the bus out of the Rafah crossing, and it's them.
The deal between Israel and Hamas has paused the fighting since November 24th, as the hostages, mainly women and children, have been released in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. Israel and Hamas initially agreed on a 4-day deal, but that deal has been extended multiple times. Since the pause began, 72 Israeli hostages have been released as part of the exchange. As of Wednesday, Israel had released more than 200 Palestinian prisoners. A total of 24 foreign nationals, mostly Thai and Filipino, were also released. More than 240 people were abducted on October 7th, and the number of hostages estimated to be remaining in Gaza is 143. The majority of the remaining hostages, 117 of them, are men. And there are 10 hostages who are more than 75 years old, including husbands of elderly women who have already been released. If you've been following these testimonies since the beginning, you definitely recall episode 3, where we met with Itay Raviv in his apartment in Herzliya, where he told us the story of his aunt and uncle, Ruti and Avraham Munder, both 78, who were celebrating the Simchat Torah holiday in Kibbutz Nir Oz on the border with Gaza with their son Ro'i, their daughter Keren, and Keren's son Ohad. Avraham, Ruti, Keren, and Ohad were all captured and taken into captivity on October 7th, and by 11 a.m. that morning, their phones had already been located inside of Gaza. They later found out that Ro'i Munder, Avraham and Ruti's only son, who also lived in Kibbutz Nir Oz, had been murdered. Because his mother, father, and only sister were all hostages in Gaza, when Ro'i was buried on October 22nd, not a single immediate family member was present at the funeral. And as I'm sure you remember, Ohad had his 9th birthday while being held captive in Gaza. Itay and the world breathed a huge sigh of relief on Friday when we all first saw that video of the adorable, bespectacled Ohad wearing a Spider-Man baseball cap, running into his father's arms, who was waiting for him in Israel. Keren and the 78-year-old grandma Ruti were also released and accompanied Ohad. But his grandfather, Avraham, who Itay told us was quite ill and couldn't walk on his own, still has not returned. Despite being close to 80, he is considered to be a soldier by Hamas. I caught up with Itay this week from his hotel room in Boston, where he's part of a delegation who's meeting with politicians, world leaders, and media outlets around the world to advocate for the immediate release of all the hostages. Itay shared with me the relief they all felt when they first saw the family members stepping off of that Red Cross van at the Rafah crossing in Egypt. He shared with me how their experience was in captivity and how they are doing now. I decided to release this as a bonus episode, meaning no edits, no production, just the recording of the conversation that I had this week. Here's Itay.
Hi, Itay. I'm glad we have a chance to speak a little bit today. It's been about a month since we sat down together and had that conversation in your apartment, and a lot has changed since then. A lot has changed for the better. A lot has not changed for the better. And I really wanted to just connect a little bit and have an update from you. The whole world has been following the news. I think in many ways, Ohad has become the superstar of this whole story, probably because he's so incredibly cute and adorable. And just watching him get off the plane and run into his father's arms, I think everybody just felt so relieved. Like, he's not only is he alive, but he's running. He looks okay, and thank God Karen came back, and Ruti, and at the same time, Abraham is still there, and it's so hard to. The emotions must be so intense, the joy, the relief, the sadness, the fear, the anxiety. And I know all of our listeners would really love just to hear from you how your family is doing, how that reunion was, what were the emotions at that moment, what's going to happen moving forward. And also, I know there's limitations in terms of what you can share and what you can't share, which of course we understand, but whatever you can share with us in terms of what they experienced and what they felt like, and how Ohad was during all of this. Was he scared? Did he feel okay? Was he did he feel safe? Did he feel like everything, whatever you can share with us, we want to hear it all.
Wow, so great intro. You said it all in the beginning, honestly, every point. First of all, Ohad is a superstar. And I think everyone had the same emotions seeing him running towards his dad and with the Spider-Man cap. And I can tell you a few jokes that I saw on Twitter. And they said that Spider-Man should go with a cap with Ohad's face on it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and I've even seen some mid-journey photos that people generated of that. We just now learned their side of the story. We know that the three of them were taken bare feet from the safe room after Abraham has failed to hold on to the door because he's not very strong, unfortunately. And he fell on the ground, on the floor, and the three of them were taken when he was behind. And they saw that the terrorists are trying to burn down the house. And they begged them not to. They thought that the house was burned down with Abraham. Only when they left out of captivity, they learned that Abraham is alive. On the day that they were released, there was another woman with them from the kibbutz that had been with Abraham on that day in captivity. So she told them, he is alive. I saw him this morning.
Wait, you're
So,
you're you're telling me that the entire time that Ohad, Karen, and Ruti were in captivity, they thought that Avram had died, been burned alive in that house, and
yes.
they only found this out when they were released, that Abraham was not burned alive and he was also taken captive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So the three of them were together. They weren't with Abraham. They were separated from him already on that morning. Unfortunately, what they also learned uh, in captivity, actually, because they were able to listen to radio for a little bit every day. They heard about Roi's death, so they also had time to process it in captivity, which is unimaginable by itself.
It's heartbreaking and brutal. You see their name on a name on the list of people being released, and then I get so happy for somebody, and then
Mm-hmm.
and
True.
when it actually happens, they're not there.
Yeah, so I can share it from my family's point of view. First of all, on Wednesday, the talks of the agreement was approved in the government in Israel. And on that day, we went for the shloshim of Roy,
Mm.
30 days after he was buried, after his funeral. And we felt like something was going to happen. Like at least some of his family is going to be back. And we were very hopeful that day. And suddenly the day after, on Thursday, they said it's not gonna happen today. It's gonna only start tomorrow on Friday. But on Thursday afternoon, we received the message from the Israeli government that Keren, Ruti, and Ohad are on the list, and we were very happy again optimistic, but trying to not to be too optimistic, because we remembered that we're dealing with Hamas here, and they're a terror organization, and we must remember that, and we cannot trust them. So we didn't trust them, and we were still skeptical until we saw the videos that everyone saw of the Red Cross ambulances going in Egypt. And then suddenly we see Ohad's cap, and we recognize Ruti, and then we see them going down off the bus out of the Rafah crossing, and it's them. And all of us, we had been watching television since 4 p.m. in Israel, just waiting for this moment. And it took for so long. I think it happened only at 7 or 8 p.m. Eventually, we actually saw those pictures, and we could breathe. We started shedding tears of joy for the first time in 50 days almost. Yeah, it was just an incredible moment. But then you remember also that Avraham is still there, and so are, at that time it was over 200 more Israeli hostages that are there, and you immediately want everyone to feel the same feelings that you have at that time. And then seeing Ohad reunite with his father, you mentioned it. I personally watched that video for at least 100 times, I think.
Oh,
And
wow.
I think anyone who has a heart watched it quite a few times and cried
Many,
quite a
many
few
times.
times.
Over,
And
over and over again, I kept watching it.
yeah,
It just the fact that he was running,
yes.
it just gave
And
me such.
he's so cute.
Oh,
Another person, another reporter in Israel, just an economic reporter, is like famous on Twitter. He said, I don't know if you know, on Twitter, there's like an unpopular opinion, blah, blah, blah. So he said, a popular opinion, Ohad Munder Zikri is the cutest kid in Israel. That's it. And everyone's like, yeah, you're right, you're right. So cute, and with the Rubik's Cube everywhere. And so slowly people started visiting them. And on Saturday, he was told that he could bring 2, 3 friends to see him at the hospital. And then he said, I don't know who to choose. I don't want to insult anyone. I want to bring all of them. So all of them came. And yeah, so then they did like a small birthday party, and we're eating ice cream and pizza and celebrating like 9-year-olds should do. And it was such an incredible moment to see it. And I think everyone in Israel was watching it on repeat on television, all of Ohad's moments. So everyone was holding on to Ohad's videos and pictures, in hope that they see other kids doing the same, which happened, thankfully. After that, now we're after the 4th day of kids being released, which is just every time it's another relief on the heart, seeing them reunite with their families.
Itay, tell me how are they?
First of all, they are okay physically, which is great to see. They have lost some weight, but they seem okay physically, and they passed all the medical tests. And Ohad and Karen were released from the hospital today to their home. Ruti hasn't, but mainly for the reason that she has nowhere to go. The kibbutz has been destroyed almost completely, so there's nowhere to go, and it still considered a war zone. As to mentally, we're not quite sure yet how it affected them, because when they went out of captivity, it was so overwhelming, and they were hugged and still being hugged by so many family members or friends, and social workers and doctors, and so many professionals that are helping them to be as best as they can. And again, we don't know everything that they went through. The October 7th was by itself a terrible day, and this is the main trauma that they suffered. Yeah, in captivity, conditions weren't great. They weren't provided with food all the times, and when they did, it was just something simple as rice or bread. They were sleeping on chairs or on the floor with thin sheets. And like I told you, they had to wait to go to the bathroom for a long time. They didn't take any shower. They didn't change any clothes. But thankfully, they didn't suffer any violence while they were in captivity.
I mean, that's shocking.
Yeah.
It's an incredible relief to hear that.
Yeah. The thing is, we cannot know for sure what is happening with other hostages. Like I don't know what's going with young males, young men who are there. I'm not sure if they're not being treated with violence. I'm happy that my family wasn't, and I hope that the other kids and the other families weren't either. But I don't know what's happening with the rest of the hostages. Yeah, and also the day that they left was very traumatic as well because they were taken through Gaza in Hamas cars and the Red Cross cars, and the cars were hit with stones by the people of Gaza, which was scary by itself. There's also the video of them being transferred from Hamas to the Red Cross, and you can see the looks on their faces, how scared they are and terrified.
Did they talk about, and if they did talk about, are you allowed to share anything about where they were? Not obviously specifically, but were they above ground? Were they underground?
They weren't sure. Sometimes they were moved from place to place throughout the time. Sometimes they saw other people from the kibbutz, and they don't know for sure where they were. They were in some places. That's what I can say. And I do want to talk to you about another thing, because it relates to what we discussed when we last spoke. We were talking about hope, as I recall.
Yes, we spoke a lot about hope.
And I told you that hope is what keeps us moving, what gives me the fuel to do what I do. And I have to tell you that up until last week, I became pessimistic every day that passed. I did keep on holding to the hope because otherwise I wouldn't be able to function. But I did become pessimistic that the deal would not happen, that the hostages would not be released. And now that they are released, I have so much hope again, and I know that the hope was real because it did happen, and I know it's possible. And now I have the hope of Abraham coming back, and every other hostage is coming back because I saw it with my own eyes. I saw that it is possible, and I have the hope that it will happen for everyone and all families that are waiting for their loved ones, and for all Israelis and all Jewish people who are waiting for all those people to come back.
It gave us all a feeling of, oh wow, this could really happen, and we really might get these hostages home, and they might be okay even when they come home. So far from what I've seen and what I've heard, I'm pleasantly surprised in terms of what they endured while they were in captivity. And I just hope that, as you said, that might have been part of their sick, twisted plan, that the people that they knew they were going to release first may have been treated in a better way. And but I hope and I pray that that's not the case, that everybody given some sort of at least a basic level of decent treatment while they were there.
Yeah. But another thing that's important for me to add is it's great that they're releasing women and children, and this is what the deal is based on. But we must not forget about the men who are there, and the other young women who are there, because for me as a young man, it's difficult to see that because I know that men hurt too, and men have feelings too, and they suffer as well, and they should be released as well and have they should be reunited with their families as well. And what I am doing is I'm trying to make sure the whole world understands that. And right now I'm on another delegation in the United States as well, speaking to Congress members and other media outlets and other influential people, trying to explain that.
Right now, Hamas is viewing any adult male over 19 as a soldier.
Yeah.
Even Abraham, who's almost 80, who as you shared can
Mm-hmm.
barely walk on his own, is being termed a soldier, which of course is ridiculous. But even the younger people who are the ages to be soldiers, they're
Mm-hmm.
not soldiers. They're hostages, and they need to be treated like hostages, and they need to be released. And I'm 100% with you that that's really
Yeah.
important for the world to understand, not just to be elated with the release of the women and the children, but to not give up until every single one of them has returned. Incredible, Itay. Your spirit is amazing, and what you're doing is incredible, and it's making a huge difference. Obviously, it's making an impact, and I hope you just continue to have that strength to go from city to city and continent to continent to make it clear to the world and to the politicians and the governments around the world how important this is and how every single one of these people have to come home. Is there anything we didn't touch on?
No, I think
We covered it all.
I talked for quite a while.
Okay. Is there, let me just ask you one last question, not for the podcast, but just as friends. Is there anything that I personally can do to help you? Do you need anything? Is there anything that would be helpful for you that, from our end that we could supply you with or support you with?
No, no. I think this conversation was kind of like therapy for me, you know. I've been doing so many interviews, um, but usually it's like with CNN, BBC, Sky News, or something, CBC, news
You mean the
station,
small,
whatever.
you mean the smaller news agencies, not like Israel Take Three.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I have like the same, uh, you know, phrases and things that I say. But with you now, when it's more of like a conversation and actually get to go in depth more into my thoughts and feelings, yeah, so it's kind of like a therapy session.
Well, I won't charge you for it. Don't worry.
Thanks.
Okay, Itay. I look forward to seeing you when you come back and keep up the incredible work. And again, the whole world, we're all praying for Avram to come home and every single one of them. And you're doing everything you can to help make that happen, and we're grateful for it.
Amen. Thank you, David.
Okay, Itay, we'll be in touch. All the best, my friend.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thanks. You too. Have a good day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye bye.
This is Israel Take 3, and I'm David Began. Help us to share these stories with the world by subscribing, liking, and sharing this podcast. Thank you, Eli Margolis, for consulting and for logistical support. And thank you, Adam Margolis, for this musical outro. We will continue to share these stories as things unfold here in Israel.